Want to expand the reach of your content? Start a podcast. Feature industry experts on your show and leverage the influence and reach of your guests to grow your brand. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by Bill Troy. Bill is the CEO of Civilis Marketing and the author of Clicksand. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
It's great to have you on the show today. We almost had you on the show a couple weeks ago, and we had some technical difficulties, so we persevered. We got everything set up properly, so I'm particularly excited to have a chance to bring you on to the show today. And I think the topic is going to be pretty enticing for our audience, for our listeners. We're going to be talking about how online marketing damages and destroys millions of companies, which is obviously a very tantalizing header. But before we get into that, Bill, tell us a little about yourself and what you and your team at Civilis Marketing are up to these days.
Sure. So I had a company, still have a company, Troy Research. We have a market research company that we've had for about 20 years where we've helped a lot of global brands actually find the right positioning for their products and interpret the marketplace. And about 6 years ago, we started Civilis Marketing. And Civilis Marketing is focused on relationship-based businesses, especially B2B companies, where relationships form the basis of the success of the company. And what we do at Civilis is help companies make sure they're working on building those relationships and nurturing, whether it's knowing who to have the relationship with or what to say in that relationship, when to say it, or even how to say it. Is it a handwritten note card? Is it time for an email? So we really help them manage and nurture those relationships in a systematic, process-driven way. And that really was what led me to want to write Clicksand, because I saw that so many businesses were not doing that. They were, in a way, abandoning real human relationships and going for some sort of remote control, automated, click and just customers will show up in your inbox kind of thing. And I said, this is not right. In fact, not only is it not just benign, not benign, it's also damaging a lot of these companies. So that's where the book came from, is from our experience at Civilis.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear you say these things about relationships. I mean, literally one of our core values at Sweetfish and by extension the B2B Growth Show is that relationships make business better, but there has to be a genuine human element. Yeah. We talk about B2B and we've had guests come on and talk about, it's P2P as well. It's person to person, people to people. Yeah, sure. So it's great to have you on and great to hear about this. And again, we're going to be talking about online marketing and how it is damaging and destroying companies. Bill, just sort of take it away. Where are we going to start today?
Well, there are a lot of different ways that it harms companies. One of the biggest ones I think I should just put out there right away is that so many people talk about online marketing and about how it's data driven. And so that makes it, foolproof. And of course you can see all the numbers and it's all measurable. But really, and that's where my market research background comes into play, because a lot of times in the market research space, we spend time with clients trying to help them interpret data and not make mistakes with data. And I think that is the biggest thing that frustrates me in the online marketing world, is that online marketers present data as though it's great and fantastic and you can always count on it, when in fact you're very fallible. Our brains are designed to look for patterns where there are no patterns. And we talked about the addictive thing a minute ago. Casinos take advantage of your brain on this. They put all sorts of data in casinos to get you to gamble more. And a lot of the same things happen in online marketing. It seems like there's a lot of action and activity and you're making things happen when really you're just getting sucked into spending more. So there are some real things that are built into this that can be very damaging if you don't really look at it critically.
Yeah. And, I think that certainly, having information, having data can obviously be a hugely valuable asset. But, I kind of like what you're saying, that, just data for data's sake that's not the value. Okay, then what sort of systems are here in place to sort of trip up companies? What should executives and business owners be on the lookout for? What's going to be kind of the takeaway from today's episode?
Well, I think you really need to look at how relationships form the basis of your business. We sit down with clients and we say, just write down the 3 best customers you've ever had, ever. The ones that if you had more like that, it would just be a dream. And then we say, where'd they come from? Did they come from some, online ad? Did they come from some email? Or did they come from someone you met at a conference or someone you worked with years ago or a previous customer that went to another company? And when you start looking at it that way, you realize, oh, that's where our best customers come from. So why am I doing these other things and thinking I'm going to end up in that other place? So it's really seductive to think you can just send out a bunch of emails or you can just buy the right keyword online. But when you really analyze it, you find out that's not where your customers actually come from. They come from relationships you've built over a series of two-way, mutually beneficial interactions. That's what's missing. So many things in the online marketing space actually damage those relationships. That's sort of like Pyrrhic victory. You won the battle by getting to open the email, but you lost the war because you made them mad when they opened it and it was something that was, not what they were looking for.
Yeah. So, Bill, it almost sounds like obviously you want to maintain and remember that human aspect, but of course people are always talking about, we want to scale it up. We want to use and integrate technology. I mean, there's got to be a way, there's got to be a balance because there are only so many hours in the day and you are in this competitive environment where the competition is taking advantage of the tools and technology that are available. Even if they're doing it the wrong way, they're creating additional white noise that then you're having to compete with to engage on that personal level. What are some things that we can do?
Well, I think you have to be careful not to fall into the trap that it's a busy world, so I don't have time for relationships, and so I've got to buy some sort of automated thing, because the smartest companies in the world still get it. And in fact, some of the smartest companies in the world are the online marketing people, because frequently, online marketing isn't sold with online marketing. It's sold with in-person relationships, right? Most of the companies we sit down and talk to and say, well, how did you get into this thing? Well, it's somebody I knew who's a local consultant I knew from Rotary, or it's a company that I met at an industry conference. And it turns out they actually got sold online marketing with a relationship-based, human-based sale. And so, wait a minute. That's how they sold you, and they're trying to tell you to do something different with your customers. So a lot of times it's just a matter of really focusing and saying, maybe I don't need 5,000 people on my email list. Maybe I need 50 really good relationships that I'm working and seriously thinking about and treating them as humans. And that might make all the difference. Yeah.
Kind of that idea that, I want to get my message out to, thousands and thousands of people. Or would you rather, put a lukewarm message out in front of tens of thousands of people, or would you rather make a connection with those, the 500 people that are exactly who you're trying to connect with and sort of and engage and have that relationship? It doesn't have to just be a numbers game.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, also just think about the relationships you even have already and don't ruin them. For example, you go to a conference and you meet someone in person, you have a drink or you meet them at coffee or whatever, and you exchange business cards, you have a pleasant conversation, and that's the beginning of a relationship. And then do not come back and then dump them into your email newsletter campaign and send them generic stuff. You're basically moving the relationship backward. You had a chance to move forward, and you're just purposely moving it backwards so you can stick it into a process. So look at the relationships you even already have and just stop damaging those at the very least.
Yeah. And one of the points that you had made before the episode and sort of offline was that a relationship is a series of two-way interactions. So it's, it's not this idea, like you said, you got someone's email and now they are just in your system. They're just another, they're binary code that kind of exists in the ether. Remember that this is a person. It's got to be a two-way interaction.
Yeah, they still have emotions and needs on their end. And just because you want to keep sending them an email newsletter or a message over and over and over again, in the real world, in the physical world, if there was somebody that you wanted to have a relationship with and you sent them a letter every day, or you sent them flowers every day, saying that someday they'll soften up and they'll understand how much I like them and they will start to like me, that's stalking, right? You'd be arrested. But online, well, I'm going to send them an email every quarter, and eventually they'll like me. It doesn't work any better that online than it does in the real world. That's what you start doing to damage relationships that you really think you're building.
Yeah. I mean, Bill, this is starting to sound like you actually have to put in some work. You have to put in some effort. You can't just, Ron Popeil set it and forget it. Yeah. Let's talk about then what are maybe some things that people in our audience can do to fix this? I mean, and are there ways that you can still integrate data into sort of your marketing campaigns? What are people supposed to do?
Yeah, so I think if you're using data in place of seeing people as humans, that's the bad path. But if you start thinking about the person on the other end and what they're doing and what they need, and send them messages. If you're going to send them an email, don't send them something that talks about yourself. Send them something about them. So, for example, if you want to utilize social media, utilize social media to listen for them to say something that's happening in their life, and then send them a note about that instead of sending them a note about what service you provide or some new press release for your company. So just start listening and thinking about them and treating them as individuals. And that doesn't just mean putting their first name in the beginning of the generic email, right? It means sending them something unique to them and really build a relationship with them. Now, it's a matter of targeting and focusing and being consistent about it. In fact, I mentioned to you offline that I heard your episode with Stephen Rosen, and he talked about execution. It is about execution. And that's, I think, the challenge is that it's some work, right? You got to get a shovel and dig the ditch here. But that is the real route to success. It's the success that you've had before with relationships. And when someone comes along and says, hey, no problem, just press this remote control button, it'll do it for you. That's tantalizing, but that's what gets you off track. So you just have to systematically work it and just pick your targets appropriately and build real relationships with people. It's really old school in a way, and just you can use some modern tools for it, but still the relationship's still the same.
Yeah. And Bill, is there a way to do this at scale? Is there a way that you can? Okay, let's talk about that real quick.
Well, first of all, focus. Right? We're just in this habit of I'll just buy a list of people like they're commodities. If you focus on the people that really matter. I had a conversation the other day with a company that wanted to hire us as a client to get new relationships for them because they continued to want to add new relationships to their pipeline, which I hate the pipeline term, but they wanted to add new relationships. And I said, well, what about the clients you've had in the past? Well, they're already clients, so we don't focus on them because we're trying to get new relationships. And when we looked, we found that a lot of the managers that had worked at the companies that had been clients of theirs had moved on to other companies, and they hadn't kept up with those people. They just had targets in their list. They were going to buy a list of complete strangers and go start spamming them, when in fact they weren't even following up with people who had gotten new jobs at companies that could use them there. And so they were already throwing away the relationships they already had. So you can scale up, for example, by thinking of the lifetime value of that customer. That one human being might be a customer at 2, 3, 4, 5 companies for you, versus trying to go get 5 new customers with some automated things. So scale is about growing things and nurturing things and finding the right customers. So you can definitely scale it. It's the largest companies in the world. I mean, and some of the smartest companies in the world, the Anderson Consultings of the world, they don't buy online ads. They're building it through relationships. They're getting bigger customers and better customers. So scale doesn't mean automation and volume. It means, bigger deals, deeper relationships.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, Bill, if you were to kind of leave our listeners then with something or a piece of advice or a resource, what do you think that would look like?
Well, I've got a couple of things I put together online for the B2B Growth listeners. And if they want to go to our website, clicksand.net, clicksand.net/B2B, I put the chapter from the book up there that talks about the kinds of damage this does to businesses, so they can explore all that and see what kind of things that might be happening to their business. We've also got a way for them to get a discount on the book when it comes out and it hits bookstores. And then if they want to talk more, debate things, I always love that. They can schedule a call with me on that page. But I think the main thing is just think about where your best customers have ever come from. Do more of that, and don't be distracted by the siren song of somebody that tells you they got an easy one-click method to get you customers in your inbox.
Yes, I mean it sounds very attractive. Oh, you've got a one-stop shop solution for all my relationship building problems. Perfect.
Yep.
That's great. Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time today on the episode. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to reading the book, and we'll make sure to include those links in the show notes so that our listeners can also check it out after the episode.
Thanks, Jonathan.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.